So just a quick review here of the 628 4x4 2-cylinder air compressor. This is the eBay cheap air compressor. They're about £25. It's meant to be 2-cylinder. I've seen reviews on these when it was made by a company called Ordu. It said Ordu here, but apparently they're only single pistons. They've changed the name. That Ordu name's gone now. I'm guessing that people caught on to the fact it's only a single cylinder, and they've actually made a twin cylinder now, because apparently people have torn these apart and there's actually twin cylinders in. So it's 12 volt. It's one of the best performing compressors, if you look at the figures, that you can buy for the money. It says it can do a 10R15 off-road tyre from 15 to 30 psi in 1 minute, and then comfortably continue to do so for 5 of your mates' vehicles as well, before it kicks off. The thermal shutdown switch kicks in. It does 50 litres per minute at 30 psi, but it also says that it does 85 litres per minute here, which is correct. It's probably the 50, I'm guessing. 13.8 volt max volts, maximum amperage draw 30 amps, 150 psi working pressure, maximum restart pressure 200 psi, ambient temp 60 degrees positive, minus 55 degrees Celsius negative, and it can run for 40 minutes at 40 psi at 24 degrees before overheating apparently. Inflates a 4x4 tyre in 2 minutes from 0 to 30 psi. Okay, we'll see. Let's see what's in the box. So we've got carry bag, unbranded. We have Schrader valve with a screw-on connector and a pressure gauge. We have the pump itself, which doesn't feel too bad looking at it. We'll see if both these cylinders heat up. We'll know if they're real or not. I'm sure they will be, but I don't know. On off, obviously you've got your 12 volt connection there with a battery terminal adapter there. Doesn't feel too bad. I mean, this brand now is apparently called Camel, so that's what it's got, a Camel air compressor. So yeah, obviously Chinese, so it's very cheap. We'll see how it does the job. What else is in the box? Oh, just some adapters for balls and blow up things. So we'll get it hooked up to the battery now, and we've got 4 tyres to pump up on this Mercedes S600, so it could be a good test. So we've got it connected up using the 12 volt clamp adapter onto some jump leads coming out the boot of the car. I just don't want to use a cigarette lighter. It's easier to do it this way for me at the moment. We've got the pump hooked up to the valve, Schrader valve, with the pressure gauge showing. Even though it is upside down, we can still see. Let's turn it on now and see how long it takes to inflate this tyre. Oh, not a great start. There we go, seems to have been a loose connection. Pressure gauge is going up slightly, it's putting air in the tyre, so it is working. It's probably best to keep the engine running if you're going to use this. Obviously this is a non-starter, so at 15 psi, 20 psi already. Pretty good. And there we go, we're at 35 psi. It was that quick. Oh, we got 35. Yeah, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, yeah, 35 psi. So it took a few minutes, and this is a big tyre. This size on this tyre is obviously a Mercedes S600 V12. So it's one of the biggest road tyres you're going to get. Where's the size on it? This is a 245 45 18. It did that in a few minutes. We'll have to look back at the video, but yeah, that's at 35 psi. So I will say that that's a decent little pump for the money. It's ice cold still. The hose is the hottest thing. That is quite hot actually, the hose. But other than that, it seems to be pretty decent. So the camera battery went flat just as we'd finished pumping up the first tyre. I did carry on doing the rest of the tyres, so I'm just going to carry on doing a bit more on the pump now that I've used it for some more time. The little bag that it comes in is actually quite handy. Everything fits in there nicely. As I say, the pump didn't get hot at all earlier on. I used it to pump up 4 of those 18-inch 245, 45, 18 I think they were, tyres on the Mercedes S600, and it did them no problem at all. And that was with it just running off the battery, no ignition on. So no engine running. If the engine was running, it would have had a bit more power, and it would have been even quicker. So I'm really impressed with how it performed. The build quality overall, these are plastic, so I'm guessing the insides of these must have steel liners. I'm guessing it might be worth taking it apart one day, but I'm actually going to be using this, so I won't mess with it too much. But the rubber mounts, help isolate it, stop it vibrating. It didn't make too much noise at all. I've heard much louder compressors, so sound-wise it was, pretty quiet actually. And for the price, the figures, I think the figures, what it says on the box about 85 litres per minute with no load, and then 50 litres per minute at 30 psi is completely correct. It pumped those 4 tyres at no problem at all. I think it took about 2 minutes per tyre, maybe 1.5, 2 minutes to get up to from 0 to 35 psi. So that's pretty good. I mean, you've got to spend £100 or something to get a pump that can do that much, like a little 12-volt pump, over £100 normally, and more. So longevity-wise, I don't know how long it's actually gonna last. Obviously, it's easy to review it using it on one car and then saying it's great, but you'll only know once you've used it 10, 20, 30, 40 times maybe, dropped it a couple of times, then we'll get a real answer. But yes, people moan about stuff being made in China, and it is obviously made to a budget, but there are some things that, even though they're made to a budget, they actually work. It's that they are getting better at making cheap stuff, and not all stuff from China is made cheaply. Lots of it is, but there's lots of it that isn't also. So some products you can buy that look identical have been made in completely different places, and you know they've just been, one's been made well, one hasn't, and they look the same and they cost the same price. So it's always good to sort of, you know, try and bear that in mind when you're buying stuff from China. Well, it all comes from China, but yeah. Anyway, decent little pump. I'll be using it for the foreseeable future. It's perfect for what I need. Fits in the car nicely and runs on 12 volts. And I don't really know much else to say about it, so I will leave it there. So, as I was saying before I ended the video too soon, I will leave it there, and thank you guys for watching.